I'll actually start recording as well, as I am recording this this playthrough for posterity. I'm actually replaying Silent Hill 2. One, because it's a game that I love. It's probably one of my top five favorite games of all time. It's absolutely sublime, and before you ask, yes, I am cautiously optimistic for Bloober Team's remake coming out later this year. But also, I'm writing an assignment on this game. I'm tasked with engaging in a psychoanalytic interpretation of Silent Hill 2, which is why the stream is called Silent Hill 2 Go to Therapy Edition. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, I'll probably be doing some light chat about some psychoanalytic ideas, if anyone cares about that, while I'm playing the game. As a result, I'm going to be playing a fairly laid-back playthrough. It's not going to be a speed run by any means. I don't think I'm skilled enough at the game yet to do anything like that. But so there's a few things that I want to get footage of in the stream so that I can take screenshots later to include in my essay. And so as part of this, we're going to be gunning for the Maria ending. And so in case there are people in chat who haven't played that before, it means we're going to need to fulfill a few conditions. So part of this playthrough is going to involve me standing around Maria a lot, probably spending some time just standing next to her so I can make sure that I get enough time with her. So that I can make sure I tick off that condition to get the Maria ending, because I write on the Maria ending in the essay, so I'm going to need some screenshots for that. Alright, so I think with that bit of prelude out of the way, let's get cracking with Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition. We'll start a new game. Letter from Silent Heaven. I'm playing by the way, I'm playing this on PC, the Enhanced Edition. This is just a shout out for the developers behind the Enhanced Edition. Absolutely incredible job that they've done fixing the previously not amazing PC port of Silent Hill 2. Particularly given the compromised state in which Silent Hill 2 exists on modern consoles, chiefly by way of the HD collection that came out over a decade ago at this point. This is definitely easily the best way to play the game. Having an old-fashioned PS2 or Xbox disc is still pretty good, but Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition, there's nothing like seeing this game with refined textures in 4K at a high frame rate. It looks gorgeous. How much of that is going to come through in the stream is not so clear, because the stream will be downsampled to 1080p and probably only 60 FPS, but you'll still get a sense of the improvements they've made. So I'm going to go with normal action level and normal riddle level. That's what I'm familiar with. And for this opening cutscene, I'm not going to talk very much over it.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
Incidentally, this item here is not normally here on a first-time playthrough. This is here because I've achieved a couple of the other endings in the game. It's an item that would be very helpful for achieving the UFO ending, but we're definitely not after a joke ending for this playthrough, so we're going to ignore it. I'm just not going to pick it up. But for those who want to get the joke endings in this game, when you satisfy the conditions, make sure to pick up that item as you leave these toilets. Here we get our crucial context, and I love this bit of music. It's incredible.
In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday. But you never did. Well, I'm alone there now. In our special place. Waiting for you.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. A dead person can't write a letter. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her? Our special place. What could she mean? This whole town was our special place. Does she mean the park on the lake? We spent the whole day there. Just the two of us, staring at the water. Could Mary really be there? Is she really alive? Waiting for me?
Alright. So now the game proper has begun. So we'll head around to James's car and make sure to grab the map. Now it's very telling here that we can't see in the back seat of the car from that camera angle. It's very important that we can't see in the back seat. I know I've put a spoiler warning in the title of this stream, but having said that, I don't want to be so cavalier with spoilers, heavy spoilers, right at the start of the stream. So maybe I won't talk about the significance of the back seat right now. But I just want to flag that for later, in case anyone is going to be sticking around for that long. I probably won't finish this game tonight. I'll play for a couple of hours tonight. I'm also planning on playing for a couple of hours tomorrow night. So if you enjoy our odyssey through Silent Hill tonight, I hope you'll tune in tomorrow night for the thrilling conclusion. Here we see the fog effects in this version of the game that didn't quite work so well in the HD collection. There we go. And I'll stop talking because we're about to meet our first friend in Silent Hill, and those are pretty hard to come by. So let's say hi to Angela.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
it's
just...
okay. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But
Yes?
I think you'd better stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it. It's kind of hard to explain, but
Is it dangerous?
maybe. And it's not just the fog either.
Okay,
It's...
I got it. I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
No, I believe you. It's just... I guess I really don't care if it's dangerous or not. I'm going to town either way.
But why?
I'm looking for someone.
Who is it?
Someone very important to me. I'd do anything if I could be with her again.
Me too. I'm looking for my mama. I mean my mother. It's been so long since I've seen her. I thought my father and brother were here, but I can't find them either. I'm sorry. It's not your problem.
I hope you find them.
Yeah, you too.
Looks like we've got desynced audio there. Hopefully that's fixing itself in subsequent cutscenes. I think there was I heard a little bit of a pausing. So I think perhaps there was an error in the rendering of that cutscene. But yeah, starting to set up the tone. For those who aren't terribly familiar with Silent Hill, getting a sense that something is a little off. Not just with the fog-shrouded town, but with the people in it. The way that Angela and James interact with each other, it's kind of less than natural dialogue, and that's very intentional. So this is a sign that I've beaten the game before. There's a chainsaw here as a special weapon, which I might equip. This might be a bit of fun. It's a real pain to use, I have to say. It's the monsters in the early part of the game are fond of using projectile attacks, and it's not great. The range on this thing is it's a little less impressive than it looks. Let's just put it that way, but we'll see in a sec. Now, Angela alluded to there being something wrong with the town, and as we'll start to see, the particular nature of the wrongness that she identifies, it seems to be relative to the individual. Alright, so with reference to chat, I'm going to rev the chainsaw and stand still for a minute. Hold on. There you go. Okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Is there an animation where he raises the chainsaw over his head? I might not be doing it correctly. Maybe just standing still with it. Yeah, okay. We'll try that. If it triggers an idle animation, it's probably more likely they're standing still. He's impatient.
It's idle holding the chainsaw in the presence of a monster.
Ah, in the presence of a monster. Okay. Alright. Let's go meet our first monster. Yeah, I was alluding before to the idea that the wrongness of the town of Silent Hill seems to depend upon the individual, as we'll establish a bit later with Angela. She's not exactly seeing the same things that James is seeing. And that principle is kind of it informs the psychoanalytic interpretation of this game, as it helps to explain how it is that Silent Hill operates, the kind of logic by which it produces all of the strange entities that emerge out of the fog, and the way that the buildings and town seems to change as James makes his way through it. And that is that Silent Hill appears to have the capacity to directly intuit the contents of the unconscious mind of those who it draws into itself. So, and this is particularly significant for a boss fight that we have later, involving Angela. But it's important to note that when Freud talked about dream symbolism, I'll just grab this first aid kit. he laid a great degree of stress upon the idea that, one, there's no way of just reading the meaning of a symbol off from some kind of formula. That what a particular symbol means for a person is irreducibly relative to that person. You can only understand what a given symbol concretely means by placing it in the context of their life, which is why analysis proceeds in the way that it does, by asking patients to tell the analyst about their life and their experience. Here's a monster we can test out that idle animation on. There we go. Our first hint of one of the entities in Silent Hill, the lying figure. That shadow just now. I think it's kind of interesting. On the one hand, like, I like the, is that blood? Because it kind of reminds me of Resident Evil. Makes me wish that we had James saying something, a la the dialogue from the first Resident Evil. Blood. I hope that's not Mary's blood. But I'm not quite sure that James Sunderland's voice actor, Guy Seehey, could pull off a Barry Burton impression. Here we go. So we'll follow the trail of blood down. Let's whip the map out. Yeah, James. Jacob's Ladder is a very significant influence upon Silent Hill, so yeah, you're right to point out that relationship. In Silent Hill 3, I don't want to spoil that game, but looking at this makes me feel like someone's groping around inside my skull. A very interesting metaphor that James is using. That's almost like a literalization of the process of Silent Hill probing into his unconscious mind, figuring out what's in there and making it a part of the world that he's moving through. There we go. So it's very interesting. But yeah, on the Jacob's Ladder, there's actually a sequence. The sequence in the subway in Silent Hill 3 is directly taken from the film. So if you watch the film after playing Silent Hill 3, you'll recognize a certain sequence set in a subway and you'll be like, oh my god, like, Heather just recreated this sequence exactly in Silent Hill 3. Alright, let's go and have a chat with our first monster before carrying on our talk. I love how James is more interested in the radio than the monster that's right there. Let's give the monster the old college try. There we go.
Is it dead? What the hell is it? It's not human.
Are you sure, James? That you're so confident about that? The interesting thing... Oh, actually, I won't talk because we're going to hear something else here. Now, pay attention to the sounds coming out of the radio, because you just might be able to make something out.
This thing broken? What the? I'd better take it anyway. I might need it.
Now, I don't know if any of you were able to make out what the person on the radio said at the very end there. But they said, and you can hear this, in an unreleased version of this game, someone posted a clip of that particular scene without the distorting radio static, so you can hear very clearly what they say. So perhaps rather than saying that here, because it will keep the intrigue going a little longer for those who haven't played it, I encourage you to look at that clip and to see what the person on the radio said just there, because it's not even foreshadowing, it's just straight up dropping the twist this early. Oh! I want to get away from the lying figures here. Now, Silent Hill 2 is probably the easiest game in the series, and it's very easy to become, like, to trivialize the combat, to get enough ammo and health items that dealing with the monsters isn't an issue. And that, I kind of think, is to the game's benefit, because it kind of allows you to really sort of focus on the atmosphere, which is easily the best thing about this game. You know, when I play it, I like to just walk around at slow speed, just take in the environment and the fog. But with respect, like, I'm conscious of everyone's time, so I'll pick up the pace a little bit. This version of Silent Hill 2 that I'm playing is the enhanced edition on PC. So this is the PC version. It's been heavily modified by a group of amateur sort of do-it-yourself modders that have spent the last... oh, jeez, I'm not even sure how long the project has been going for, but the last several years, fixing all of the versions, the problems with the original PC release. There we go. Now, it's very telling that this figure here is wearing the same jacket that James is. This is not the only representation of James dead that we will see on our odyssey through Silent Hill. That would seem to be setting up a very different twist to the one we actually get. So it's very curious that these are the hints that it's giving out. Yeah, the HD collection is infamously got its problems. Yeah, we'll go this way because we'll swing by Neely's bar on the way to where we need to go. Unfortunately, the HD collection version was actually my first time playing Silent Hill 2. I played the HD collection version, so I didn't actually sort of know what I was missing out on. And in many respects, if you had to play the HD collection, that's probably the best way to do it, because without an understanding of what the game is actually meant to look like, I didn't experience it as a deprivation, really. I just was so thrilled that I was able to play this game, and I fell in love with it so profoundly. No, Neely's bar is a little further up. This is an important location for one of the endings that we're not actually going to be pursuing. So, let's grab the map. So that map told us to go down Martin Street, which we've just been to. So never mind. But we want to head down to that mark on Sewell Street to find a motorhome, because there's some cool items in there. And then eventually we'll want to trek back up. I don't think we can go through Harris Street right now, so we'll need to double back through Neely Street and turn left onto Katz to get to the Woodside Apartments. So yeah, James is going to make these doodles himself. And there should be a little note for us on the wall. There was a hole here. It's gone now. Interesting. If we were going about getting the in-water ending on this playthrough, I'd be tempted to come back here and get footage of a second note. There's a health kit just outside the sports injury center, so that's very helpful. And there's a very different message on the wall of the bar there. A friend borrowed this game to you 20 years ago, fell in love with it from the start. Yeah, I absolutely understand how you did. That was basically my reaction too. When I played Silent Hill 2 for the first time, I'm like, man, why isn't every horror game like this? This is just one of the best works of horrific art, and I'm a fan of horror, in any medium. And it still is. So a lot of people are... I'll wait at Bar Neely's. See, this is the hint to go to Bar Neely's to get that map that I just picked up. So if you happened as a first-time player to stumble onto this, I'll grab the hyper spray. I won't really use it though. Then that would be your clue to go to Bar Neely's and get that map. And also just to put Bar Neely's on the map so that you know that you can go in there for the later reveal if you want to get the in-water ending. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about the remake. I really liked... A lot of people complained about the amount of combat that was featured in the latest trailer, but the trailer is literally described as a combat reveal. It's, it makes sense that they would focus on that dimension of the game. And it's not like there was no combat in Silent Hill, the original. As we'll see, there's a decent amount of combat in the game. Interesting that there's another representation of someone who looks like James dead there, under that car. It's a very interesting point. It was worth taking a minor hit from that monster to point that out. Yeah, so, but the shots beginning the trailer, I thought at Woodside Apartments, where we're just about to go, looked quite nice, actually. And him walking through the Woodside foyer, it made me sort of quietly hopeful. And that's sort of what I was hoping for. To recreate these environments in a faithful sort of manner, in a style that's reminiscent of RE2 remake. Well, yeah. I mean, there's arguably a sense of that. Like, of just... And here you go, here's another one, using the same jacket. Like, yes, to a certain degree, like, you're right, in that it definitely made development a little bit more expedient to reuse the models in that respect. But one of the interesting things about Silent Hill, in particular, is that the developers are very conscious about the fact that they took psychoanalytic concepts into consideration when developing the game. So of all the games to interpret through a psychoanalytic lens, Silent Hill, and Silent Hill 2 in particular, is one of the best options. Because the game was literally designed around these ideas. So in that case, given the nature of that development process, the reuse of James's jacket is not really accidental. Alright, here we are, Woodside Apartments. Let's go grab this map. Very helpful. And I love the way that the light spotlights this health drink right here. We don't have a flashlight just yet, so it might... Upcoming sequence might be a little dark. But the flashlight will be the first thing on our agenda. It should be on the second floor. So we've seen a few lying figures, those shambling monsters, so far. It's kind of interesting to have a little guess as to what their sort of contorted forms symbolize, if anything. It's difficult to actually make sense of them in a very important way. It's kind of like a visual chaos there, which makes a lot of sense. Oh, okay, I don't want to deal with this guy. I want to try and... I'll try and take him out. Come on, there we go. You can stun lock most of the enemies. Oh, come on. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, hold down the attack button. Yeah. Come on, James. Work with me here, buddy. James, come on. I don't want this to be the way our working relationship starts. Alright. Let's have a drink. What's this thing made of? How many hits has it taken? Alright, it's time for the chainsaw. There we go. That's the stomp attack I was waiting for. Thank you, James. Okay. So now we don't need to worry about this. Alright. James' shadow every now and again. Yeah, I did just notice that. It's not something that's been very prominent in the enhanced edition, because the fixes have been very good. Oh, hello Enigma, thank you for joining the chat. See, now we've got the flashlight, and oh, look at this! A mannequin. A figure with all legs. Alright, there we go, that's taking care of it. I see, that is interesting. And it's very interesting that... I know, I wish, just a mannequin, but these clothes... I wish that there was an option for James to put them on. That would make the game resemble Psycho to a much greater degree than it already does. Become Mary. It's a way of honouring her memory. There's a note with a Kodak magazine article attached to it. Searching for another conclusion. Oh yeah, this is a hint for second-time players as to how to get the endings that are available in New Game Plus. The first step to a healthy life is to avoid illness. That may sound obvious, but it's also very important. Instead of working to heal yourself after you're sick, it's better to avoid getting sick in the first place. Also, you have to maintain a positive, optimistic outlook on life. It's no use worrying over things that have happened in the past. You gotta get outside and play in the fresh air once in a while, instead of just sitting inside reading difficult books. That's a little hint for players who didn't manage to get the leave ending on the first time through, that if you want the leave ending, you're going to want to heal yourself as soon as you take damage, and just try not to take damage in the first place. Ah, another one, huh? Come on, James. There we go. That's better. All books are difficult when you're illiterate. I think there's the... not sure if it's established, but I do believe that James works as a clerk. There we go. Got it. I find that it's best to use melee weapons throughout Woodside, and then once we get through all of Woodside using... mostly melee, then we'll have enough ammo to get through most of the rest of the game without worrying. Alright, what's in this room? But yeah, one of the interesting... Oh, okay, here we go. Interesting things that... One of the interesting things about how just run past all the monsters. Well, that's an interesting approach, right? And it's interesting what that in itself would say about James. Because if we approach... There's a newspaper on the ground, but there's nothing interesting written on it. If we approach the monsters as what Freud would call condensation figures, or symbols which compress into one sort of object, a variety of different unconscious or latent thoughts into one image, then the monsters are arguably condensing a whole bunch of different thoughts that are running through James's mind, many of which he's unaware of. So, for example, the mannequins here are sometimes interpreted, given that they're all legs, not particularly appealing, right? Are you talking about Vincent's question to Heather? As you saw them as monsters? Implying that Heather has just been killing people? Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting concept. I tend to believe Vincent when he says later that he's just fucking with her. But in any case, it's not terribly important for the interpretation of Silent Hill 2. It's an interesting idea, but I don't think that it's as rewarding as exploring the monsters as symbolizations or materializations of concepts in the unconscious is for Silent Hill 2. We want to go upstairs before we come back down here. We want to get the pistol. But the cool thing that Vincent's line does is that it sort of attempts to make the player, in a certain sense, complicit in the violence that Heather feels obligated to engage in to defend herself against the monsters. And that's exactly the sort of way in which Silent Hill 2 tries to do it, through its main plot twist, getting you to identify with James, and then almost at the last moment making you question the basis of that by letting you know that your actions have a deeper significance in the light of the new plot twist. Now, we've got the pistol here in the shopping cart. Apparently, I read this just recently, apparently the fact that the pistol is in the shopping cart was meant to satirize the easy availability of firearms in America. Which I think is cute. And it's very telling with that in mind. It's very telling that the room in which you find that is completely pockmarked with bullet holes and spent casings and everything like that. Now, we're about to make a new friend in Silent Hill by trying to reach for this key.
Ow! Hey, wait! Damn it.
What an annoying little shit. But yeah, the comparison you make to Jacob's Ladder and the reference that film makes to the Christian mystic Meister Eckhart brings up another point of comparison in the Dead Space remake. I don't know if you had the chance to play that. Was that some kind of noise north of here? So this way. Is that the one of the antagonists in the Dead Space remake makes the point that to people who are horrified by the appearance of the necromorphs in that game, he said angels once looked like monsters to the unprepared. And speaking of potentially angelic monsters, we have here our first encounter with the legendary Pyramid Head. Just standing there, just chilling. How's it going, buddy? Empty-handed with his butcher's gloves on. Very interesting that he's wearing a butcher's apron, by the way. Wonder what that has to say about what he represents. But we're going to find out a little bit more after we encounter yet another representation of James dead. And this time it is exactly the same model, rather than a different model just wearing his jacket. Because it looked like those other NPCs, it's either the case that their faces are just distorted or whatever, but it looked like long hair. So the clock says, the scars from the past shall remove the nail that stops time. This is a hint that we need to fix it with this clock. We've got the puzzle clue here. Henry, Mildred, and Scott. So the 3 hands on the clock. We're missing. So we need the key to be able to fiddle with the arrows so that they look like this. And as a clue to the puzzle, it's very interesting, the names here: Henry, Mildred, Scott, hours, minutes, seconds. So we've got a key to room 202. And let's have a look. Who's this in the chair?
Oh my god. Who could have?
And that's about it. If you come here before encountering Laura on the 3rd floor, that chair is moved back to where the start of this blood trail is, and there's no one in it. Three needles stand of 3 different heights, the fat, the tall, and the thin. From slow to fast, they move to the right. Scott rests not on 3, but 15. Okay, so we need to go to room 202. Yep, further down the hall. With that little ominous glowing sink here with the Pulp Fiction treasure inside it. Now it's interesting that this room is full of, can't even make it out, it looks kind of like there are moths and butterflies. It's very interesting. Oh, what does that text say? There are dead butterflies on the bed in the ground. Now, let's reach into this mysterious hole. Really? Speedrunning, you use the initial clock time to quickly determine all puzzle solutions from a simple chart. Well, there you go. That's cool. I didn't know that about the puzzles are generated the moment you start the game. Based on how many frames have passed. So that means that there's got to be some kind of basic principle of variability. The you know, if you're playing this on, for example, on original hardware, like on a PS2, the game would never take exactly the same amount of frames to load. There'd always be a little bit of difference to allow for different puzzle solutions on repeat playthroughs. Alright, so let's quickly have a look. Not missing anything, yeah, no, I'm okay. Alright, let's go have a fiddle with the clock. No, I need to use the key. Okay, let me just get him in a quick look at the wall. So we've got Henry looking the hour hand at about 10 o'clock. Mildred is about 2 o'clock. So we wanted to get them as 10 to 2. About 11 to 2. It's not this far down, surely. Oh wait, there it is. Okay, so it's 9 and 2. Yeah. Alright, so move around the other side and we'll push the clock out of the way. There we go, first puzzle done. Okay, that's kind of interesting. It's interesting that it's both deterministic and random enough to allow for normal play. It's kind of a clever solution to it. So we've got this door inaccessible, yep. Some health drinks. Yeah, that's everything in this room. Alright, we'll pop off a quick save. There we go. I'll be doing about 1 billion saves over the course of this playthrough to give me as many opportunities as I need to come back and get the screenshots that I need later. Quick save feature is super broken, allowing for easy skips. I can imagine, because the PC port in general looks like it was cobbled together with scotch tape and some hopes and dreams. Okay, we need to go up. You can skip the whole playing sequence. That's interesting. Get some handgun bullets. Alright, so now that we're running into this other figure... But by the way, I don't think I finished the sentence that I was started before. But this figure is sometimes interpreted, because there's a basic difficulty in just making sense of its shape. Oh, hold on. Important scene here. The animation is so uncanny there. Like he barely makes contact with it. So anyway, I started blasting. It's in his name. It'd be rude for him not to have a pyramid head. But yeah, the actual pyramid is one of the few elements of his design that I really just don't have a grasp on. And it's kind of strange because the other elements of his design are so sort of salient and powerful. Like I mentioned before, the butcher's smock that he's wearing and the gloves. Connected with the that scene in which Pyramid Head was brutalizing two of the mannequin monsters who were just composed of two sets of legs on top of each other. Like a sort of comment that you'd make about a woman, that, for example, she's all legs. A woman that you find attractive. It's literalizing that kind of sexual euphemism. It's very telling that Pyramid Head, when we see him, we often see him killing feminized monsters that are coded feminine in very different ways. And this is partially because of his function. You know, the codes as a butcher's smock, you know, associated with killing. Killing feminized monsters. It's very reminiscent of the way that Freud described the dreams of those who suffered from traumatic neurosis, or what we would now call PTSD. The way that they were sort of trapped in a cycle of involuntarily repeating behaviors or fragments of dreams which brought them back to the inciting incident that traumatized them. essentially. And he thought that he thought that it was characteristic of that particular type of illness. So the idea that the fact that we keep seeing feminized figures being killed by Pyramid Head, a hyper masculine figure wearing a butcher's smock, sort of implying both a gendered relationship between characterizing acts of violence and a sort of uncanny repetition. The fact that it keeps happening again and again, like an insistent memory, a tick that we keep reproducing without understanding why, or a dream that returns every night. On the psychoanalytic interpretation of this game, this uncanny repetition is sort of like the way that the way that trauma acts itself out, that reenacts itself in the experience of one who suffers from it. James is traumatized by something, and that keeps playing itself out through these gendered encounters throughout the game. And as we will learn shortly, we'll pull the rug out. He's traumatized by his own experience of murdering his wife. So the death of feminized monsters at the hands of Pyramid Head, or indeed James himself, the fact that James has to kill many of these figures, is to a certain degree a kind of uncanny repetition of the original act that has brought him here in the first place. Having a look at chat, Pyramid Head went to births, deaths, and marriages and changed it legally. That's so funny. I have some experience with births, deaths, and marriages, given that I work as a marriage celebrant, and that would be a very interesting process. One would wonder where he would get the change of name certificate sent to. I also wonder about how good Pyramid Head's documentation is, because, you need to establish what's called like a continuity of identity, a chain of documents pointing back to your birth certificate or an extract, demonstrating that you are the person that the documents refer to. So I wonder where is Pyramid Head's filing system? Sent to 123 Silent Hill Street, Silent Hill, obviously. Maybe it's all in his butcher's smock. Maybe he has a very robust filing system under there. I'm gonna unlock this door. So through that kind of this circuitous path, we've made our way to the other side of Woodside Apartments. There are two main buildings. We're in the second one now. And now that we've unlocked the door, we can kind of run through, as we'll need to do with this. Got the can of drink. It's like a 6-pack or a 4-pack of canned juice. We're going to need that to clean the chute. Juice. Yeah, it's like special grown-up juice. Now that's interesting. It's bloody apple. A heavy 6-pack of expired canned juice. It was in the hallway on the first floor. So it's expired apple juice, but it's, interesting that the brand name is Bloody Apple. Just curious. We have these repeating images of blood, the jacket, Bloody Apple, expired. Yeah, exactly. All things which are beyond their time. Now, the reason we need that canned juice is because... Oh, no, that's right. No use for that. It looks like there's an item there, but we can't grab it. There is actually an item stuck in that chute, which we need to liberate. It's basically cider, yeah. If James gets thirsty. One of the many items in this game that James can collect, but he can't use. He's got no hope of using. Let's see. It looks like I can't use that here. If you can't drink your apple drink here, then what's the bloody point of it? Alright, now we are looking for the... hold on, have I walked past it? Yeah, I have. Never drinks homemade cider that someone brewed by leaving an expired 6-pack of juice to ferment in an apartment hallway. Now, I have to tell you, okay, a little bit of personal experience time. I worked as an apartment cleaner for a couple of years, where I would clean the shared toilets on the office level of an apartment building. It was a building with several floors of apartments and then a couple of ground floors of offices. So I would clean the office toilets, and then I would also vacuum all the common areas in the residential section. And I have to tell you, when there were we had those garbage chutes on all the floors in our building. We've got the old man coin, important for later. And interesting, Gossip magazine. So the police announced today that Walter Sullivan, who was arrested on the 18th of this month for the brutal murder of Billy Locane and his sister Miriam, committed suicide in his jail cell early on the morning of the 22nd. According to the police statement, Sullivan used a soup spoon to stab himself in the neck, severing his carotid artery. By the time the guard discovered him, Sullivan was dead from blood loss, the spoon buried 2 inches in his neck. An old schoolmate of Walter Sullivan's from his hometown of Pleasant River said, "He didn't look like the type of guy who would kill kids. But I do remember that before they arrested him, he was blurting all sorts of strange stuff, like, 'He's trying to kill me. He's trying to punish me. The monster. The red devil. Forgive me. I did it, but it wasn't me.'" The schoolmate then added, "I guess now that I think of it, he was kind of crazy." Nice way of summing that up. Very interesting for any Silent Hill fans who've played the 4th game. It represents something of a retcon. Because Walter Sullivan is a very important character in that game, and that's not quite how he's represented in that game. So that sort of magazine implied that Walter Sullivan was dealing with encountering Pyramid Head. In the same way that old James is, and for similar reasons. That he's there to punish him. But all mention of Pyramid Head is gone in Silent Hill 4. And appropriately enough, as Kiseki explained earlier, Pyramid Head only makes sense in the context of this game. He only belongs in Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 2 only. I'm just not going to deal with all of these guys in the pool. They can hang out and have their pool party there. I'm not even remotely interested in dealing with that, because they're not going to get out of the pool. The AI is not great. And unlike the nurses in the remake, they can't vault over the pool's edge. So I'm in no danger. There we go. Alright. Let's get a couple of whacks. The old Silent Hill 1-2. There we go. Let's try and bait the spray and then move out of the way. There we go. Ah, goddamn. You man, you're waiting for Eddie. Alright. I know Eddie's in one of these rooms. I can't remember where he is, so let's see if he's in... Yep, there he is. He's in room 101. Let's go say hi to Eddie. There's a body in the fridge. Who could have done this? Well, we're about to meet the person who, I think it's fairly strongly implied, did this. For reasons that we'll understand a bit later. Let's go have a chat with Eddie.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Do what?
I didn't do anything. I swear. He was like this when I got here.
My name's James. James Sunderland.
Eddie.
Eddie. Who's that dead guy in the kitchen?
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill anybody.
You're not friends with that red pyramid thing, are you?
That pyramid thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Honest. But I did see some weird looking monsters. They scared the hell out of me. so I ran in here.
Well, I guess this place isn't too safe either. What happened here anyway?
I told you, I don't know. I'm not even from this town. I just...
You too, huh? Something just brought you here, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, whatever it is, I think you better get out of here soon.
Yeah, you're right. What about you?
I'll leave as soon as I'm done here. Eddie, be careful.
Sinister note in that
James,
last line from James.
You be careful too.
There we go. And now he's completely quiet. It's almost like he was putting on a show for the cameras. Hee-hoo. But that's Eddie. Everyone laugh and clap for Eddie. Alright, let's go back and see if we can wring a couple of extra bits of dialogue out of Eddie.
Eddie, are you okay?
Yeah, I guess.
Eddie, are you okay?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, that's probably, I think that's all we're getting out of Eddie. The wall is covered with football posters and meaningless graffiti. Illusions the water margin. Mature nature divine protection. Pro football of power sports. Some very interesting figures. Some childlike graffiti. Football on the ground. Tells you a little something about where Eddie's come from and what he's interested in. He could go for something to eat now. I think Eddie's had enough to eat. And besides, I'm never really ready to eat something after I've been throwing up. Although we'll see him get his appetite back a bit later. This town is full of monsters. How could you sit there and eat pizza? One of the classic all-time meme lines. Alright. And I think we're going to run into Angela again here. I think... yeah. Okay, now we've unlocked this. Thank you, thank you. Right, I think Angela's in this room. There we go, got a tourist brochure from Silent Hill. Yeah. Alright. Oh. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so there's some pistol ammo on the chair here. How are we doing for pistol ammo? Got 90 bullets. Yeah, that's doing pretty well. So we've got our snake and our old man coins. Now, this is something interesting I'd like to flag right here before we carry on. So we've got the letter from Mary here. We open it up. We see her name on the envelope. If we examine the piece of paper, we've got writing on it. And it's the same thing that Mary's voice actor read out at the beginning. Alone there in our special place, waiting for you. It's very interesting to see what happens to the letter as we progress throughout the game. And I'll be sure to spotlight that as we get a little further in. Because the letter does not stay exactly the same. Hello, Platinum. Thank you for joining the stream. I hope you enjoy. I could swear that Angela was in this room. But I guess not. Okay, so if we get through here, that's right. So we'll go one flight up. got to be where the third coin is. So perhaps Angela's in one of these rooms. Because Angela is going to give us a very important item. Certainly an item that's important for my purposes today. I did actually... Oh, here we go. There's a crack in the wall. I did actually write on this item and this scene in my essay. Let's overwrite this save file. Yep. Okay. Let's quickly head out and check the rest of the rooms in the hallway first. Ah, no, this is just the other side. Oh, no, this is where we were before. Never mind, she's not in here. That's right. We need to go across to the fire escape. Actually, might just probably quicker to go through here rather than go back around and through the front door. So we'll head back through the chasm left by the clock puzzle. We have ominous music all of a sudden. Alright. So we're going to head around to the previously locked door at the end of this corridor. We'll access the building just adjacent to this one, and we'll see one of the scenes that they included in the trailer for the remake. This one. Alright. So we're into the next... There's an old broken down bed here. So we're into the next room. What horrors are we going to discover? We're going to discover the scariest thing of all. This toilet.
Taxes.
And taxes. Looks like there's something stuck inside the toilet. Will you take it out? Many people often cite this as the #1 sign of James's fragile mental state, that he's willing to stick his naked hand in that toilet on the off chance that there was something in there. Good thing for us that there was. Okay, so we've got the combination for this. I'm just going to quickly write this down. So 18, right, 15, left, 8, right, 9. Alright, so this is the combination of James putting his hand in random holes. It really is a theme in this game. Well, to be honest, I mean, James has been brought here because he used his hands inappropriately. So James needs to be a lot better with his hands in general. Okay. There's an Easter egg in Silent Hill 3 on PS2. Oh, yeah. Freudian slip your hands in there. Very nice. Alright, so we want to go start off at 18. So I think it's probably best to go this way. So we'll set it at 18. And then through to 15. So that's right. Actually, hold on. We'll start at 18 and hop back on. Okay, so go to 15, 15, and then left to 8. So I always get the input for this wrong. And then go right to 9. There we go. That's it. Yes! Yes, if you do have a Silent Hill 2 save, you can, Heather will reach into it. That's right. If you have a Silent Hill 2 save, and you interact with the toilet, Heather, rather than... She looks like she's about to reach into the toilet, but then she stands up and then literally turns around and looks directly at the camera and says, who would even think of something like that? Classic fourth wall breaking moment. So we've got tons of handgun ammo right now, so we might we might use our gun for a little bit. Particularly given that we don't actually need to use our gun for the boss fight at the end of this area. Now, just as a little bit of kind of theoretical background for some of the thoughts I have regarding James. Quick thumbnail sketch is that Freud basically has two major models of the mind throughout his work on psychology. So on psychoanalysis. Dear Tim, I have to run an errand, so I'm going out. Left the key at house with Uncle David. You know where he lives. The key is in the room near the first floor staircase. So we need to go downstairs to get the key to that room. So we're going to come back to this room later. Whoop. Scary. Alright, so we're going to have to head downstairs. Is there an item in here? No, okay. No, we're all good. So as I was saying, there are two basic models that Freud develops over the course of his career to understand the sort of the dynamics of the mind. And the earlier model is what he would later call the topographical model of the mind, as in sort of like a map. It's like a spatial model. And then the second is the structural model, white chrism. This is an item that's only relevant for the for secondary playthroughs. It's relevant to a specific ending that we're not going to get, so we don't need to worry about that too much. What does this text say? There's nothing in the bookshelf that looks like would be of any use. Survival horror protagonists just generally are always talking about how useful everything is in the environment. That's all that they consider. How useful is this thing? They never express any like spontaneous emotional reactions to what they see. Like, why the fucking hell is everything in this town so dilapidated? It's just an interesting point, I think. But yeah, so in the topographical model of the mind, there are the three basic concepts. The distinction is between consciousness, the pre-conscious, and the unconscious. And what Freud will later call the ego, the seat of sort of conscious awareness and the agency associated with our responsibility and our capacity to move around in the world. Oh, hold on, this is an important cutscene. I won't talk over this.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah, I'm James.
Angela.
Angela, okay. I don't know what you're planning, but there's always another way.
Really? But you're the same as me. It's easier just to run.
Interesting that James is in a mirror here.
Is what we deserve.
In front of Angela.
No, I'm not like you.
Reflecting her.
Are you afraid? I'm sorry.
It's okay. Did you find your mother?
Not yet. She's not anywhere.
Did she live in this apartment building?
I don't know.
So, all you know is she lived in this town.
What did you say? How do you know that?
Well, I just figured, 'cause this is where you're looking for her. How else would I know?
Yeah.
Am I right?
I'm so tired.
So, why did you come to this town
I'm sorry. Did you find the person you're looking for?
Not yet. Her name's Mary. She's my wife.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Anyway, she's dead. I don't know why I think she's here.
She is dead?
Don't worry. I'm not crazy. At least, I don't think so.
I've got to find my mama.
Should I go with you? This town's dangerous. Now I know what you meant back there in the cemetery.
I'll be okay by myself. Besides, I'd just slow you down.
What about that?
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do. No! Oh, I'm sorry. I've been bad. Please, don't!
There we go. We've got our third coin. Very interesting. Yes, the mirror in Silent Hill 3 where it ceases to function as a mirror. The mirror sort of becomes changed by the Otherworld is a cool sequence. So yeah, so basically as I was saying, in Freud's kind of earlier model of the mind, what he would later call the ego, in very basic terms, has a simple job to do. It's there to handle the sort of... Oh, I didn't pick up the map. Okay. Have we been here? Yeah, we have been here. Ah, here we go. Okay, so we need the inscription. 3 bright coins in 5 holes B. At one end sits the seducer of she. The wind from behind the woman doth play. The formless one, null, lies furthest from they. The old one beside the serpent sits not. 'Tis to the prisoner's left that he doth rot. So this gives us a hint as to where to place the coins we just picked up. Got a rough idea as to where these go, but let me just read that one more time. One end sits the seducer. The wind from behind the woman. The formless one. So the one at the farthest extreme is empty. The old one besides the serpent doesn't sit, tis to the prisoner's left. So the seducer of she, meaning Eve, is the serpent. Oh, hold on. Might use the cursor for this. So I think that the one on the farthest left is null. So at the other end goes the serpent. Now it mentions the wind from behind the woman doth play, and the woman is facing to the left. So wind behind her means that there's a space. Hold on. There we go. So woman goes in the middle. So the wind behind the woman and the seducer on the right. And the old man does not sit beside the serpent. There he is. So there's our puzzle. So So this is the one puzzle that's never random and determined only by difficulty. Yeah, right. Would make sense. It would probably be too difficult to randomize that puzzle, I think. You might worry that it would produce unsolvable situation. Alright, so we want to go back upstairs. Any items that we have forgotten here we didn't pick up? No, it looks okay. Alright, I'm gonna head up. And then I think, because I'm an idiot, we'll see the map on the wall here that I forgot to pick up. Yeah, it's right there. It's right here. Alright, so we are looking for, yeah, room 209 just ahead. Now we've got the key for this room. Alright, any items in the kitchen? So the basic task of the sort of, what Freud would later call the ego in his early framework, the topological framework, is that the ego is sort of tasked with balancing the demands of our libido, of our various drives that call for satisfaction, and the inhibiting forces of social custom, because they're often part of what it is to live in a society, which we do live in, by the way. I'm sorry to inform you that we do in fact live in a society. I know it's going to make a few of you pretty upset, but you know, we've come to Silent Hill. It's only real, true facts. Absolutely no printers here. So part of what it means is that we need that certain things are. We have to withhold satisfaction. We can't always gratify ourselves in the way that it would make sense to. And exactly what Pyramid Head is doing right there. That is verboten. Cancelled. Society says no. Perma-banned from society. Alright, so here we go. We have our major boss fight with Pyramid Head. And this is the pro strat. Just wait until his attack animation, starts, and then just run to the other side of the room. It's going to run to the other side of the room. We'll just keep doing this. Because he's on a timer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can shorten the timer by attacking him, but it's a lot better for your resources towards the end of the game if you just run back and forth. There we go, he's doing the long charge-up attacks that are very easy to dodge now. There we go. So we just run out of the way. No worries. So for Freud on the earlier conception, mental health just consists in maintaining a sort of appropriate balance. I think he's stuck. Yeah, here we go. Here he is. He's sorted himself out. A balance between our sort of instinctual demands, or the demands of our drives, and the various ways that we have to compromise on the immediate satisfaction on our drives in order to be able to live peaceably with others. And one of the best signs that someone is suffering from a neurosis, or one of the causes for developing a neurosis for Freud, is when that balance goes awry. When either it's the case that one's libido becomes so intensified, or one's becomes so deprived of outlets for satisfying it, that that you're unable to discharge all the nervous and psychic tension, that unsatisfied libidinal energy which builds up and you generates, or the external world becomes so harsh and the objects of satisfaction are so scarce that even though your drives haven't gotten any worse, you haven't been able to satisfy them in the way that you're used to. So it produces mental illness for Freud. And in his paper, Neurosis and Psychosis, he sort of talks about the various ways that you can tell whether a person is going to become neurotic or psychotic as a result of falling outside of a sort of appropriate balance. And so for Freud, human beings operate according to two basic principles. There's the so I'll touch on that comment in a sec. Operating according to the pleasure principle, which is the sort of drive to satisfaction, and in particular because Freud thought that here we go, telltale alarm bells. Pyramid's had enough. He's taking his giant useless knife and going home. Bye. See ya. Oh, fuck. I tortured him too much. All right, now he's taking his knife and going home. Bye. See ya. Just let James follow him with the lock on there. That's how we know that he eventually falls away. There we go. Yeah, literally fuck this shit, I'm a head out. There we go, cool. So for Freud, the development of sort of libidinal energy within the individual generates psychic tension, and he thinks that this is basically uncomfortable. To a certain degree, it's what pain is excessive tension within the organism. And, consistent with what he understood, he was trained as a medical doctor, so consistent with the medical science of his time, he thought that part of what an organism sought to do was to maintain a sort of comfortable level of arousal, and which he thought would be pretty low. So, above all, what the organism seeks to do, and human beings are organisms like any other, is to discharge our tension. And so that's what he calls the pleasure principle, our desire to find relief and relaxation from all the tension that builds up as a result of our desires.
It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
I don't know. Maybe I did.
What's a little girl like you doing here, anyway?
Huh? Are you blind or something?
What's that letter?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
Wait! How do you know Mary's name?
I love that emoji of James with the fingers in his ears. It's incredible. La la la, can't hear my problems. Sort of quite literally where I'm going with the description of neurosis and psychosis. So you're on the money. And then, hold on, there's some pistol ammo, I think, on the left up here. So if we run, yeah, here we go. Here's some handgun bullets. Another chatter wants to know what psychic tension means. Okay, so it's kind of like, yeah. It's sort of like, sometimes if you have to, say for example, if you have to hold in your pee. Say for example, you need to pee, but you can't find anywhere to go to the toilet. The longer you hold it in, the more uncomfortable that sensation is. You sort of feel it as a pressure that is building up within you until eventually you just can't hold it in any longer and you need to release. To a certain extent, that kind of model of a force that impinges upon you from the inside is building up and sort of demanding a discharge is kind of like how Freud thinks about psychic energy or libido. So it's that sort of uncomfortable accumulation of tension which eventually becomes painful, like it is when you really need to pee and you can't. It hurts after a while. So Freud thinks that's characteristic of all of our drives, not just, for example, the hunger and and sexuality, but for all of the things that kind of motivate us. If the drives that impel us go unsatisfied for too long, then they generate an uncomfortable amount of tension that demands release somehow. So there are various different ways of accommodating that. one of the easiest ways is what's called sublimation, where you take, for example, say that you have a drive that you're not allowed to gratify for whatever reason. You take the energy that you would have invested in that drive and you channel it into a pursuit that's more sort of
Mary?
culturally acceptable. Like, for example, the pursuit of art.
No, you're not.
This is important. I don't want to
Do
talk
I
too much
look
about
like
this.
your girlfriend?
No, my late wife. I can't believe it. You could be her twin. Your face, your voice, just your hair and clothes are different.
My name is Maria. I don't look like a ghost, do I? See? Feel how warm I am?
You're really not Mary.
I told you. I'm Maria.
Sorry. I was confused.
Where are you going?
I'm looking for Mary. Have you seen her?
Didn't you say she died?
This is really important here.
Oh yeah, 3 years ago. But I got a letter from her. She says she was waiting in our special place.
And that's here? Anyway, I haven't seen her. Is this your only special place?
Well, there's the hotel too, I guess. The one on the lake? I wonder if it's still there.
The Lakeview Hotel? Yeah, it's still there. So, the hotel was your special place, huh? I'll bet it was. Don't get so mad. I was just joking. Anyway, it's not that way. It's this way.
You're coming with me?
You were gonna just leave me?
No, but...
With all these monsters around?
No, I just...
I'm all alone here. Everyone else is gone. I look like Mary, don't I? You loved her, right? Huh. Or maybe you hated her.
Don't be ridiculous.
So it's okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Interesting point to note before I go on. You know, we were in the butterfly room earlier when we were getting one of the keys for the Woodside apartment. There's lots of dead butterflies, preserved, frozen butterflies in that room. And Maria just so happens to have a butterfly tattoo on her midriff. Now, it's quite interesting. Butterflies are often viewed, because of the particular nature of their maturation, they're often used as symbols of transformation. And so, in many ways, that sort of symbolic continuity is alluding to the idea that Maria represents a kind of transformation of Mary. That Maria is a fantasy of Mary that James always would have preferred. She looks exactly like Mary, just her hair and clothes are different. They're more sexual. She's more intimate with him. She touches him in a very intimate way on their first meeting, despite the fact that she claims not to know him at all. So she's everything that Mary was to him, everything that he cared about. Plus, she gives him a little bit more. She's a little more sensual. She's a little more dependent on him. As we're sort of demonstrating right now, he's walking around. He's got the gun. He's protecting her. James wanted a version of Mary that needed him to look after her in that way. In a way that he didn't when she was sick. Precisely because she couldn't give him that warmth that he wanted. An interesting comment about the butterflies representing the souls of the deceased. In many ways, that's kind of what the dead butterflies in the the room represent. The continuity between Maria and Mary, the fact that they sort of resemble each other, means that those butterflies in that room kind of serve as a symbol that represents a kind of acknowledgement in James's subconscious, or unconscious rather, that Mary is in fact dead. And that in an important way, Maria is quite literally a reincarnation, not of Mary's spirit, but of Mary's form, of the fantasy version of her, as I was alluding to before. We'll grab some more handgun bullets. Alright, come on, Maria. We want to get the Maria ending, so we want to make sure that she's okay. Which means I should probably take care of this. Yeah. Because in order to get the Maria ending, we need her to stay close, so I can't be running ahead of her too much. Because I don't want the game engine to read that as me desiring to be distant from her to keep my distance. Just sort of what you need for the leave ending. But yeah, so just to finish the sort of thought that I was working on before, I mentioned that for Freud, mental illness is what happens when the ego can't work out a balance between its libidinal demands and the restrictions that are imposed upon it by society or culture. And so at some point when there's a conflict and an unacceptable sort of build-up of tension, something's got to give. And, oh, it really is a jump scare, his face, it's kind of freaky. And so for Freud, basically one of two things can happen. It's either the case that the individual that is experiencing caught between these competing demands, both of which it can't satisfy, has to pick one. So if the individual sides with reality, with what he calls the reality principle, over the demands of its libido, and insists upon observing what's required of it, of being good, of moderating its demands on the external world, then Freud thinks the individual becomes neurotic. The desires that they can't give expression to consciously find expression through other behaviours. If they're not sublimated, like, for example, if a person who's unable to pursue their sexuality, because maybe, for example, they're homosexual in a homophobic society, if they can't sublimate that through creating art or through becoming involved in religion or whatever, they might develop neurotic behaviours, like nervous tics, repetitive rituals, that sort of thing. On the contrary, if the individual decides that, in fact, reality is wrong, or rather, if they just reject the reality that makes their desires a problem, then Freud calls this condition psychosis. And so what a psychotic individual does is deny those parts of reality that occasion the problem in the first place. And they replace the bits of the reality that they have disavowed with delusions. And so Freud gives a great example in the paper where he compares neurosis and psychosis that should help to illustrate what's going on with James. In that he talks about a young woman called Elizabeth von R. Now I'm just hoovering up all the health items in the overworld before we move on, so it gives us time to talk. What?
Never mind.
Okay. So Elizabeth von R. was a woman who had a sort of attraction to her brother-in-law. And when her sister died suddenly, she experienced the thought at her sister's funeral, now I'm free to be with him. And according to Freud's analysis this was a patient of Freud's, according to his analysis, this experience of having this sort of illicit desire that she herself didn't really want to accept or acknowledge was sort of so horrifying for her that she repressed the memory of ever feeling that way. So she repressed her desire, she opted in favour of the reality principle, she denied that she had any feelings for her newly single brother-in-law. Freud said that a psychotic version of Elizabeth would have denied that her sister died at all. Now that's very interesting regarding what is going on with James. Maria brought up to James, your wife's dead. Well, so why do you think she's here? And he's like, well, yeah, she's dead. Yeah, of course, but I got a letter. So she's here. The idea is that James is suffering from a form of psychosis. On a psychoanalytic view. The idea is that he was so horrified by his murder of Mary, so shocked that he was capable of performing such a dreadful action, that he coped by denying that he killed her in the first place. Spoiler alert, yes, I did put spoiler in the stream title, so this is a spoiler stream. Hello, Norpy. Thank you for joining. Here we go, the pipe. This is a much better melee weapon than the 2x4. We love to see it. And so James, yeah, he denied that he killed her at all, and in order to cover up, paper over, as Freud put it, the hole in reality created by his disavowal of his murder, he replaced it with the delusional belief that she died 3 years ago. Now, interestingly enough, if we actually get to see... Great, I believe he just fixed her pillow. Some say that death is just like a beautiful sleep, so maybe that's what they're alluding to. Now, this is an interesting book here. This talks about the sort of origin of the particular powers of Silent Hill. So they called this place the Place of the Silent Spirits. By spirits, they meant not only their dead relatives, but also the spirits that they believed inhabited the trees, the rocks, and the water around them. This is the Native Americans. According to legend, this is where the holiest ceremonies took place. But it was not the ancestors of those who now live in this town that first stole the land from these people. There were others who came before. In those days, this town went by another name, but that name is now hopelessly lost in the veils of time. All that we know is that there was another name, and that for some reason the town was once abandoned by its residents. So that's kind of interesting. One of the papers that I read for this essay touched on that. I wasn't able to make much use of it, but sort of made a reference to Silent Hill 2 as, you know, exploring some of the interesting ways that a lot of action game protagonists find themselves implicated in sort of narratives of colonial despoilment. It's sort of interesting how Silent Hill 2 bucks the trend by explicitly drawing attention to the fact that, and implying that to a certain degree the malignant power of Silent Hill is partially a result of European colonialism. That it's the way of the spirits that always lived here getting revenge upon the descendants of settler colonizers. But anyway, we're about to run into Eddie and Laura again, and Eddie will have enough pizza to share with all of us.
I'll wait here. I hate bowling.
I didn't come here to play, you know.
Hurry back, okay?
So what'd you do? Robbery? Murder?
Nah, nothing like that.
Huh, you're just a gutless fatso.
What'd you have to say that for?
I thought you said the cops were after you.
No, I just ran because I was scared. I don't know what the cops are doing.
But if you did something bad, why don't you just say you're sorry? Well, I guess I run away a lot too.
It's no good. They wouldn't listen. Nobody will ever forgive me.
Hmm.
Did you find the lady you're looking for? What's her name? Mary?
Laura's looking for Mary too. Interesting.
Eddie?
Oh, you're...
James. We met in the apartment building?
Yeah, I remember. But,
Are you alone here, Eddie?
no.
Bye-bye.
Wait! Come back! Eddie, let's go after her.
Huh? Laura? But why?
Laura, is that her name?
That's what she said.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
She said she was fine by herself. She said a fatso like me would just slow her down.
Forget you.
How can you just sit there and eat pizza?
Who is that girl, anyhow?
I don't know. All I know is her name. I swear.
You know, I'm not sure that we can trust Eddie here. After all, he's got all that pizza, and does he offer us one slice? Even one? No. He deserves everything that's coming to him. No polygons. There's plenty of polygons to spare. This is cutting-edge graphics, next generation.
Yeah, she was too fast for me. Aren't you gonna go after her?
It's a very nice comment from Alex. Thank you for that one. So,
proper title.
huh?
Use his correct title.
Correct title of at Piss Boy. Piss Boy in the chat, we see you. Here's Mary. Oh, Maria. Oh no, I did a James. Alright, we're gonna stand, we're gonna walk into her for a bit. Get nice and close. And moreover, we're not going to look at the photo of Mary in our inventory, because the game engine reads repeated examination of the photo as a kind of mechanical expression of guilt, remorse, and a desire to be unified with Mary in particular, rather than her fantasy
She went
substitute.
through there.
And so that's why doing that is a condition for getting the leave ending, which is not the ending we want. So we are trying to forget Mary as fast as
Is
possible.
there any other way?
Yeah, there is. Right through there.
No, I'm going for the Maria ending. That's the sort of ending that I
It's no good.
wrote about.
It's locked.
I did talk about the in-water ending in the essay with reference to Angela's knife, so we will have a look at that in the inventory in a sec. Crafty. It's very telling with regard to the idea that Maria is sort of Silent Hill's fantasy reconstruction of Mary. That the name of the sub-scenario in which you actually play as Maria is literally called Born from a Wish. As in, it's quite literally implying that she was created as a result of James's wish to get a version of Mary that he always wanted. And yeah, like, Kiseki, you're not wrong about that. As I understand it, both Masahiro Ito, the creature designer, and the author behind the Silent Hill 2 novelization do treat the in-water ending as their personal headcanon. because there's no official canonical ending, but basically the in-water ending is the canon ending. And in that regard, Masahiro Ito also suggests that in his personal headcanon, Mary's body is actually in the back of James's car at the very beginning of the game, which is why I said at the very start of the stream that it's important that we couldn't see in the back seat from the camera angle that we used to grab the map. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The endings are sort of beyond good or evil, because they each represent different ways of resolving the foundational issue that brought James here. And I'll just have a look. I think it's important to read this flavor text about the liquor bottles here. So, liquor bottles, I don't need that right now. It's not that I don't drink. In fact, I drink a fair bit. To get away from the pain, the loneliness. But the drinking never changes anything. Anyway, I don't need it now. There's something that I have to do. I think that supports the idea that in water is the canonical ending. James here has struggled with alcoholism. That's something is Maria. Well, that's what's going on our ending, because we want to get in that. We want to get a piece of it. I'm just going to creepily stare at her for a little bit. Yeah, that flavor text, I know, because, ordinarily you skip past flavor text like that. I know I did on my first playthrough, but when I caught it on a subsequent playthrough, and it became really important, I think, as part of the way of interpreting the game. I love the music in this club, by the way, Heaven's Night. It's one of the tracks that really sort of tips its hat to Twin Peaks, which is a major source of inspiration for the Silent Hill series generally, but particularly this game. James just prefers expired apple juice. Yep, that's it. What's that good stuff? Hold on, what does that say? Butter cake. Okay. Thank you. Alright, so we're going through. In the Born from a Wish sub-scenario, this is where Mary starts the game. She starts the game having materialized out of nowhere in Heaven's Night. The implication being as well that she is an erotic dancer, which it reinforces the idea that she's a kind of sexualized fantasy version of Mary. Like Mary bringing with all the sexual energy that James feels that he was denied from Mary while she was suffering from her terminal illness. There's kind of a theme of sexual frustration finding its way into all sorts of ways in Silent Hill. We'll see the nurses, which are famously read as symbols of James's sexual desire and frustration. But then also the way that Pyramid Head interacts with the monsters. Pyramid Head is a sort of masculine symbol of James's guilt and avenging force. It's part of him coming after him, representing his desire to punish himself. What Freud would call a sadistic drive that has shifted not from an active to a passive voice, but to the middle voice. Not from sadism to masochism, but to the desire to punish himself for what he has done. And so in that way it's significant insofar as Pyramid Head is a symbol of James. And insofar as when Pyramid Head kills the feminized monsters in a game, he is, as I sort of mentioned before, traumatically reenacting the thing that put him here in the first place. It's telling that Pyramid Head engages in sexual violence towards the creatures. We saw in the cutscene with the mannequins before that basically Pyramid Head was raping them. And so that sort of representation of sexual aggression is also something that's going to be important, particularly for the Maria ending, with regard to how James felt about Mary. So anyway, this clipboard is kind of important. So he's attempted suicide 3 times in the past for reasons unknown. Although he's normally a model patient who follows doctors' and nurses' orders, he must be watched closely due to his past pattern of sudden and violent suicide attempts. So an allusion to suicide, helpful for the in-water ending. Also, there's a diary on the roof of this hospital that, if you happen to read it, is one of the conditions for receiving the in-water ending. It's implied that this patient wrote it. Joseph Barkin. His illness seems to be rooted in the fact that he believes he is guilty of causing his daughter's death. His symptoms suggest a psychotic break and paranoid delusions. Normally calm, but has a tendency towards violence when excited. This is a straightforward reference to James. James, also guilty of familial murder. As a result, he has suffered a psychotic break, and he suffers from not so much paranoid, but he suffers from delusions. And he normally has a calm, he's got a kind of a muted affect. But, as we see with regard to how he deals with monsters, he does have a tendency towards violence that sort of manifests itself in that way. I think we should save here. Nah, James did not have a kid, but he's guilty of familial murder in the sense of murdering his wife. It could be understood as an allusion to Harry Mason, yeah. But I think it also is, in a sense, it's like both and rather than either or. I think it's also, specifically that second patient, is making a fairly straightforward reference to James. It's one of the ways by which Silent Hill, as a kind of sentient supernatural town, is toying with James by manifesting objects that directly reference him. We'll see this later in the game, in the hospital even, when the town manifests a map that refers to him specifically. Here we go. The potential for this illness exists in all people, and under the right circumstances, any man or woman will be driven, like him, to the other side. The other side perhaps may not be the best way to phrase it. After all, there is no wall between here and there. It lies on the borders where reality and unreality intersect. It is a place both close and distant. Some say it isn't even an illness. I can't agree with them. I'm a doctor, not a philosopher or even a psychiatrist. But sometimes I have to ask myself this question. It's true that to us, his imaginings are nothing but the inventions of a busy mind. But to him, there simply is no other reality. Furthermore, he's happy there. So why, I ask myself, why in the name of healing him must we drag him painfully into the world of our own reality? So we've pinched that key. We're going to need that for a particular puzzle later. Of course, that's a straightforward reference to the Otherworld in Silent Hill. One of the interesting things I think about Silent Hill 2 is that we actually see relatively little of the Otherworld that we sort of we see a lot of in both the first game and in subsequent games of the series. Particularly, we don't see a lot of that version of the Otherworld, which is kind of like, a sort of industrial beating heart of Silent Hill that the facade of a calm and placid town literally peels away to reveal. We don't get a lot of that in this game. Where the Otherworld manifests, it's just a version of Silent Hill, the town that already exists, but that is a little colder and a little more empty. And I find that particular way of rendering the Otherworld sort of so much more evocative and atmospheric than the very loud and busy industrial interpretation of the other games. It's my personal preference, and I'm not saying those other games are bad. I love the other Silent Hill games as well. But it's just it's something that I think Silent Hill 2 uniquely got right. Here we are. We're about to run into the famous nurses. Oh, bloody camera angle. There we go. It's interesting in this regard that Maria unbothered in her line. Not fussed, not bothered. And look at this. There's a butcher's smock. Or rather, it's a lab coat. Nope, sorry. My bad. Jumped the gun on that one. Maria very conspicuously placing herself in front of the sexy posters. Yeah, you noticed that too. Do I look like one of your Sports Illustrated girls? Now let's have a health drink. Let's reload. So we've got the examination room key. This is for the first floor examination room. Alright, so this is Angela's knife. I don't plan on using this as a weapon. You can't equip this, interestingly enough, as a weapon. If you examine it, he just points out that there's blood on it. Stained with something red. It's very curious. No, not really. I kind of just kept tank controls because it's what I'm used to.
Ow.
What's wrong?
I just pricked myself.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Got a bent needle. We'll get that later. And there's a shotgun in this locker for some reason. Okay. There we go. That's good. We've grabbed that. That is a real shame. Yeah. Hopefully that's something that the Silent Hill 2 remake might remedy, in that it might get a lot of people who are otherwise put off by the idea of playing a game that's more than 20 years old at this point, to experience, you know, the magic of Silent Hill 2, even if it's ultimately not as good as the original. Because yeah, like, it's quite possible that Bloober Team's remake will not manage to pull off an RE2 remake or RE4 remake and be even better than the original game. We Resident Evil fans have been spoiled lately. But even if it's not, then it will still be an interesting and alternative interpretation of the same story, and it's not going to suck the original away from us. It's not going to take it from us. We'll always have our special place in Silent Hill. Okay, I don't think there's anything interesting in this room. Maria, would you get the fuck out of the way? Maria, you're being annoying. Shotgun shells in the sink. I think that's it. Oh yeah, there's a memo. Okay, right. So I'll just jot down this this code. So 3rd floor wing hall. 7335. Cool. Food only. Do not store drugs. Okay. Weirdly judgy. That's sort of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that Bloober Team have maintained the good sense, given the holy status that fans, you know, myself and probably you, Kiseki, included, hold this game in, that they should not fuck with the narrative, or do so as little as possible. So if it is just this exactly the same story with better combat, that's exactly what I want. So if they deliver that, then I'm happy. Significantly, if they nail the atmosphere, then I'm golden. And to be honest, I really liked the fog effects in that combat trailer. Whether it's true, I'm not sure. It's you know, psychoanalysis is a subject of lively debate, but and generally speaking, a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists today would tell you that it's not true, in that likely not true, in that there's a lot of controversies regarding the empirical evidence in support of it. It's generally not accepted as a science today, but I'm sort of studying the unit as part of I'm sort of studying psychoanalysis as part of a philosophy unit, where we're sort of weighing the psychoanalysis as kind of like a unified theory of the mind and of ethical practice, I think, more radically. And then with Freud's successor, Jacques Lacan, as a kind of social critique. And seeing if there's anything in the sort of psychoanalytic edifice which is worth rescuing. And I think that there is, even if we don't want to endorse psychoanalysis as a full-throated clinical framework, which probably isn't the best thing to do. The French hermeneuticist Paul Ricoeur referred to psychoanalysis as a semantics of desire. It's a way of sort of understanding what desiring means to human beings, the role of desire and how we relate to others in like a robust sense of ethical life, the good life. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to view psychoanalysis, rather than as a clinical framework, because yeah, it has problems insofar as it's very difficult to validate clinical observation in psychoanalysis. And there's also some criticism that has been made regarding the role of suggestion in analytic therapy. Yeah, exactly. Psychoanalysts, and Freud in particular, was operating on a very, very elevated, what you might call, conception of sexuality that's a little broader than what we would understand colloquially by it. But to go back to the comments in the chat, talking about the animations, like there's a little bit of clunk, a little bit of jank to it, but I think it's important to remember that, I'm going to write this box code, 2239, that the game is not quite finished, so they still have several months to add polish to the animations to really make them shine. And as I understand, I mean, I'm not really familiar with a lot of Bloober Team's games, but as I understand their prior work, they're generally pretty got solid when it comes to polish and game feel. So I'm quietly optimistic that they'll be able to fix some of those things in development. And yeah, I really, as Norpy suggests, I really hope that they have kept the joke endings. Yeah, so I really hope that they are. The day room, we need to get in there. But that's all we can do right now, is just be sort of cautiously optimistic. I don't think that that giving up the ghost already is warranted. I think given that Konami is engaging in a project of attempting to revive Silent Hill, I think it's important not to write it off. I mean, admittedly, I understand the impulse behind writing them off, because their track record has been so horrible. You know, there's the bloody pachinko nightmares they've created. But yeah, I'm holding out hope that it's going to be okay. And yeah, I agree. I wish that I would like sort of there to be a bit more of their town to explore. It's one of the complaints that I sort of have about Silent Hill 2 is that there's not enough time spent actually exploring Silent Hill, and there's not terribly much to see. There's actually way more in Silent Hill 1. There's a lot more of actually running around the town of Silent Hill. That's kind of interesting. So one guy just figured out how the puzzles worked and started telling everyone how they did. Alright, what am I missing? Oh yeah, so I haven't gone through the wing. Alright, so we're going to grab our code, which is 7335. It's Giga Chad streamer just solving the puzzles for everyone. I did see a meme about this, given all the locked doors, the broken locks, I can't open it. The meme was like, evil Silent Hill be like, The lock is working perfectly. You can open the door.
James. Wait a minute. I'm kind of tired. It's just a hangover.
You should rest.
So comfy.
I'm gonna go look for her. For Laura. I'll be back as soon as I can.
Yeah.
James, I want to ask you something. What if you can't find Mary? What will you do?
I haven't thought about that.
Take me. So we need to make sure I'm going to take care of these nurses, and then we're going to head back in and check on Maria, because that's one of the conditions for Maria ending. We have to exhibit a concern for Maria. Expressing a desire to live with our fantasy wife rather than the real one that we've come here to find. Okay, so here we have this weird looking box. Now we got the code for the numpad here already, so we can go ahead and enter that now. 2339. Wait, hold on. Sorry, I think I entered the wrong code. 2239. Yeah, that's it. And we have a ball key that opens one of these. Yep. Insert coin to shotgun. Oh my god. Pachinko is the manifestations of James Pachinko edition. I would love that, personally. James walks in and finds a representation of himself dead, slumped in front of a pachinko machine. Sign saying jackpot on it. Jackpot, James. You got exactly what you wanted. Mr. Jackpot's real. Real, not fake. Now, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? That as soon as we get to the hospital, Maria isn't feeling so good. She has to have a lie down. Time for none ice. But the real question is, okay, why is she so unwell? You go to Silent Hill looking for your dead jackpot. Maybe so.
I'll be okay soon. Did you find Laura?
Okay, I think that's it.
James, I want to ask you something.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Her poor spine. Yeah, it doesn't look terribly comfortable. She's not getting a lot of back support, which she probably needs, because this is the first sign we're getting that Maria is developing the very same condition that claimed Mary. So this is the idea, and this is sort of what I write about in the essay, that that the price that James pays for failing to acknowledge that Maria is just a fantasy figure that sort of, as Zizek puts it, is filling out his void in his relation to Mary, is that he's doomed to repeat the process that brought him to her in the first place. James is compelled to repeat this pattern of bad relationships. relationships. Yeah. Now here's a diary over here. This is the diary about featuring the like suicidal record of the patient that we encountered on the bottom floor. I'm not going to read that because reading that is a condition for getting the in-water ending, but I just wanted to spotlight it. Now we're meant to... So yeah, this thing is going to fall down pretty soon. We're meant to run into Pyramid Head here, but sometimes I find that he doesn't show up when he's meant to. Yeah, look, he's not here. Oh no! Oh, I wish that some burly, strong man would knock me over and... Ah, here we go. Yes. There he is. I wish that someone would knock me off this roof with a gigantic phallic symbol, and I wish that person were also just me. I think that the low health symbol in this game is so daggy. Like, the HUD is so minimal, and then you're on low health, and you get this massive red cross in the corner. Like, alright, no need to be bloody extra about it. This is Joseph's cell in there. Let's have a look. Okay, now Joseph, having a wonderful time here. What's only in the enhanced edition? Yeah, I've played that section a number of different times, and sometimes I've had to run across the roof like the Red Cross, right? Sometimes I've had to run across the whole time trying to get Pyramid Head to spawn on that rooftop. It's been really annoying. Okay, so I'm gonna say that's... So, hospital code... 2, 1... I'm gonna say that's a 6, 5. Yeah, 2165, I'm going with that. Turn the numbers, better not forget them. So I'll write them down here. The other one, my secret name. Yeah, so yeah, 2165 or 2185, let's go with that. So that'll be the code for the combination lock on that that many locked box, which is on the 3rd floor, and we've been knocked down to... Oh no, we're back on the 3rd floor. Excellent. I thought I misremembered. I thought that Pyramid Head knocked us down to the 2nd floor. All right, so let's run in. Actually, let's check on Maria just quickly. Yeah, the numbers, they can be really hard to read sometimes.
I'll be okay soon. Did you find Laura?
No. I just wanted to make sure in case that earlier visit didn't count. Because I really want to make sure that we get the in-water ending. I'm kind of worried that I haven't spent enough time standing creepily close to Maria in this playthrough. Because in previous attempts where I've tried to get Maria, I haven't. I've got the leave ending by mistake. 216. 2166 that was, apparently. Okay, so we've got our precious strands of hair from Joseph. Bullshit, that was a 6. That was so a 5. Come on. So, what we need to do, infamous puzzle, a head scratcher for many first-time players, is we want to get this key that's stuck in the drainage pipe. Maybe if I had a long, narrow tool of some kind. Obviously, what James is talking about is getting all 4 keys required to open that puzzle box, combining a piece of hair with that rusty bent needle that we found in the teddy bear that pricked him, and then using that as, like, a fish hook. Obviously. Long, narrow tool. It's my time to shine. There we go. Got the elevator key. Alright, now I'll quickly run to room 11 to save. Yeah, cool. Alright, now we can use the elevator. Fantastic. So we want to go and make James look like a genius. Super genius. Alright, so now we can access these sneaky rooms that we couldn't get because they're behind this fucking door. Yeah, you can. Yes, it took me a while to use all that. If I had all the keys on me when going to the box, I might have done that. But I didn't. And I kind of wanted to show the locks off to everyone, because there's way too many locks on that bloody thing. So here we have the hospital just looking fantastic. This is an ideal environment for a convalescent, if I don't say so myself. Now Laura is here, so I want to... the end of this room. Okay, I don't want to go there. I want to double check to make sure that there's no items that I can collect. Okay, now this door will open. Alright. Examining room 2. Okay, can I get into the bath? No, I can't. Yep, all... Well, it was you know, Joseph who locked that thing up. So Joseph, who was also having a wonderful time in this place, obviously those hairs belonged to someone very special to him. See, Silent Hill works in mysterious ways, I think. I think that's what we all have to
Laura?
say at the end of the day.
Huh? You know my name?
Eddie told me.
That big fat blabbermouth.
How do you know about Mary?
What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't.
I was friends with Mary. We met at the hospital. It was last year.
You liar! Laura, I...
Fine, don't believe me.
James having a normal one.
But last year, Mary was already... I'm sorry, Laura. Anyway, let's go.
It's one of the first moments where James has been directly confronted with the fact that his delusional
We can
belief
talk about
cannot
this
be true.
later. This is no place for a kid. There are all sorts of strange things around here. I can't believe you haven't even gotten a scratch on you.
Why should I? Wait! There's something I gotta get.
Later, okay?
But it's really important.
What is it?
A letter from Mary.
Huh?
I wanna go get it. Is that okay?
Yes! Yes!
Yeah, exactly. That aggression is a kind of
Come
reaction
on, hurry
formation.
Is it in there?
It's a mode of lashing out to protect the delusion that he's
in the
constructed.
back.
What are you doing, Laura?
It's further back in the desk.
Laura! What are you doing?
Yep.
Ha ha! I tricked you.
Open the door, Laura.
Why should I? I'm a liar, right? Want me to open it? Huh? Huh? Do ya? What's the magic word?
Laura?
Okay, I guess it won't open it. I think I'll just leave it at this.
You snotty little brat! Open up!
Why, you...
Laura?
You hurt me!
Not to belabor the point, but I think it's worth noting that these monsters are entrapped within a kind of lump of flesh that's held in a rectangular frame. It's got a flat back as well, kind of like the flat back of a mattress. You can actually see the wiring that's supporting a mattress here. So the design of these creatures is alluding both to a kind of prison and to a bed. So in that way, they're kind of symbolically alluding to both Mary's imprisonment in her sickbed, James's latent sense of feeling trapped in a relationship with a terminally ill woman, and the literal side of Mary sort of wasting away, becoming one with the bed as her condition worsened over time. One of the things that that Freud notes about how condensation figures work in dreams is that figures are typically what he calls overdetermined. The manifest layer of the dream that you actually experience, is full of way more latent thoughts than actually find direct expression. So what happens is that the features of figures in dreams tend to condense a whole bunch of elements at once. So they, an entity or a person will have elements that make reference to qualities of a whole bunch of different people. So I mean, latent, like not latent, latent as in sort of implicit or buried under the surface, rather than manifest, which is sort of on the surface or literally in front of you. Okay, Seki, you mentioned Jacob's Ladder before. This shot is a direct reference to a shot in Jacob's Ladder, where James is, not James, the protagonist of that film is being wheeled on a gurney through a kind of dark hospital. And that James there is not Maria, but Mary. James is remembering the time that he spent going to hospitals looking after Mary, just sort of a way of confirming the kind of symbolism that I've been referring to. That boss just there represents kind of James' ambivalent feelings towards Mary. Now, Freud, interestingly enough, uses the term ambivalence in a very sort of specific way. For Freud, ambivalence is not so much a feeling of like not really knowing how you feel about someone or something, but ambivalence is a specific combination of love and hatred. And that sort of concept of ambivalence characterizes James' relationship with Mary to a T. He does love his wife, and he loved the life that he had with her, but as a result of the way that her terminal illness resulted in an estrangement between them and in a loss of intimacy that he felt was important in more than one sense. There was a lot of resentment that began to grow. We'll sort of see that towards the end of the game. James began to feel that Mary's illness was eating away at his life too. That he wasn't able to live anymore. So partially, his actions were motivated by a selfish desire for his own freedom from Mary as this kind of burden chaining him to a sickbed. And so in that way, that boss sort of condenses a whole bunch of latent thoughts related to how James felt about Mary, and also reflections of the way that he saw her during the worst time in her life. Okay, what am I missing? Oh, the elevator, of course. That's it. we've got the elevator key now, we can go up. So this is kind of like the closest that we get to the Otherworld in Silent Hill 2. We've got a bit of a fucked up hospital, a siren played getting us from here to there. We had a lovely skin wall earlier, I don't know if you noticed that, but that was a charming bit of interior design. And we've got more of our attentive nursing staff, always on call, to lend a hand or a lead pipe in need. Alright, cool. There we go. Okay, so it's mostly just supplies in this room. Easy peasy. So one of the interesting things about looking at Silent Hill 2 in a psychoanalytic way is, okay, so we can understand fairly straightforwardly that James is not quite right. That this young man is quite mentally ill. But what about the town of Silent Hill? What stake does it have in all this? Why did it call him here? One way to think of it is that he, the thing that called James to the town was the letter that he received from Mary, right? The letter saying, despite the fact that she's been dead for 3 years, according to him, that she's alive and waiting for him here, in all places. Why here? So to dip back into Freud, he has a concept that he calls secondary revision. And that refers to the way in which the mind of a dreamer will try often to make sense of the things that they see in dreams. And so there'll be like a sort of a layer of a logic that sort of doesn't necessarily correspond to dream logic, but that it's more reminiscent of reality. There's like a layer of a kind of realistic logic to dreams that is then disturbed by all the weird stuff that tends to happen to us when we dream. And so he calls that layer of realism that attempts to tie together all the otherwise bizarre elements of a dream secondary revision. And so in that way, because we know that James knows on an unconscious level what he's done. And we know that James feels guilty about this. This is, after all, what Pyramid Head is famously taken to represent. James's guilt and consequent desire for punishment, manifested by Silent Hill as an external entity that comes after him. And interestingly enough, as we will see, keeps killing Maria. In a sense, once again, engaging in a sort of traumatic reenactment of the crime that brought him here. This is flavor text. So, in a very important sense, and so this is one of the things that I wish that I could have included in my essay, but I didn't. I wasn't able to because I didn't have space. The letter that James receives is essentially a form of secondary revision that Silent Hill engages in, manifesting the letter and sending it to him, that makes his decision to return to Silent Hill to experience the kind of vicarious punishment that he wants makes sense to him. And the fact that the letter functions like that is demonstrated by the fact that the letter gradually disappears the further that we get into the game. I mentioned earlier that I'll point this out as we get there, but we might not get that far in today's session. So if you've been enjoying the stream so far, I invite you to tune in at the same time tomorrow night as we play through, hopefully, the ending of the game. The breathing in this room, by the way, the room corresponding to the same room in which Maria was lying sick, it's implied that this is, once again, a memory of Mary that is kind of distorted, the distortion sort of representing the way that a repressed memory is trying to force its way to James' conscious awareness, but he's not yet ready to accept the truth. So in that way, the letter in our inventory is still, if we examine it, the writing is still on there. He still needs this to make sense of what he's doing, so it's still there. So part of the reason that Silent Hill calls James is because, you know, we've mentioned before that Silent Hill is kind of like a malignant entity. It draws in people who are guilty of something in some sense, and draws them in either to make them suffer directly, or, as in the case of Laura, because having them there will be useful in making someone else suffer. So Laura is here because of James. Angela is here for reasons that I think are kind of unfair, but we'll get to that a bit later. Oh, come on! I hate it when the nurses respawn. Storeroom. Here we go. Me and my homies all hate nurses. Yeah, these are the sorts of nurses who didn't receive the claps that we all gave to frontline healthcare workers during the pandemic. Oh my god! Back again. Now, I mean, judging by how these nurses are dressed, I'm not sure if that's true. Maybe these ones did receive the clap, who's to say. Given that these nurses are partially sort of, I volunteer as tribute. Given that these nurses are sort of partially representative of James's sexual desire, if the nurses do have the clap, I wonder what that says about old mate. Is he a bug chaser? It's hard to say. It's... You're not familiar with that term? Yeah, it's a term for the community of people who are sexually aroused by contracting STIs. So they deliberately go around collecting sexually transmitted infections, deliberately having sex with infected people in order to have as many infections as they can. It's a real thing. What would Freud say about that? I've got no fucking clue. I do not know anywhere near enough about psychoanalysis to be able to tell you. I have a feeling it may be representative of, I don't know, partially the death drive, or of
James.
Perhaps the desire for punishment.
Mary? Oh, Maria. It's you. I thought you were... Sorry. Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway? You don't sound very happy to see me. I was almost killed back there. Why didn't you try to save me? All you care about is that dead wife of yours.
These graphics are amazing for the time.
I've never been so scared in my whole life. You couldn't care less about me, could you?
No, I just...
Then stay with me. Don't ever leave me alone. You're supposed to take care of me. So, what about Laura? Did you find her?
Yeah, but... she ran away.
We've got to find her.
You really seem to care about her. Do you know her?
I've never met her before. I just feel sorry for her. She's all alone. And for some reason, I feel like it's up to me to protect her.
Okay, so Norpy in the chat asked, ooh, the death drive, is that related to suicidal ideation? The short answer is, kind of. Yes. But in an answer that is as accurate as it is unhelpful, it's also a little bit broader than that. Much like the psychoanalytic view of sex. So, in an important sense, the death drive for Freud is kind of like a basic impulse that he thinks is inherent in all organic life. And before I explain what it is, it's important to say that this is a point that's controversial even among psychoanalysts. A lot of people who are sympathetic with Freud just straight up disagree with him on the concept of a death drive, or broke off with him because he proposed the concept of death drive. But essentially he thinks that Freud makes a point that the instincts are what he calls fundamentally conservative, in that they seek to restore an earlier state of things. And so he wonders about, because I initially mentioned that he thought that all human behavior was governed by what I called the pleasure principle. But in the late 1910s, partially as a result of World War I, he starts encountering... Sorry, I need to use the elevator. He starts encountering a lot of phenomena that doesn't seem to make sense. A lot of stuff he can't account for using the concept of the pleasure principle. Hold on, where is the elevator? Oh, it's over here. Specifically, he's focusing on the traumatic neuroses, like PTSD as a result of people's experiences in World War I. And he sees a lot of compulsive behaviors, a lot of nightmares and stuff that can't be explained plausibly explained with reference to the pursuit of pleasure, or the maintaining of a level of sort of comfort. And he starts to explain it by thinking that there's a basic compulsion to repeat. This is where the psychoanalyst Jonathan Lear disagrees with Freud. He thinks that Freud was mistaken in seeing the repetition as the goal of the instincts, rather than repetitive behaviors as like a defense mechanism to avoid confronting something that a person would rather not confront. Like in the way that anxiety can often be a sort of instinctive response to an uncomfortable situation. Stop talking because of this.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Trick or Treat! Here you either answer the questions correctly and win a great prize, or fail to answer correctly and receive the punishment. It all depends on you. And our lucky, or should I say unlucky challenger today is James Sunderland!
Now, the great prize is actually pretty good, so we do want to win this one.
Merry-go-round, haunted house, roller coaster, Ferris wheel, and teacups. Silent Hill is home to a thrilling amusement park that both children and adults love. The question is, what is the name of this amusement park? 1. Fantasyland. 2. Silent Hill Amusement Park. 3. Lakeside Amusement Park. Okay, quickly on to question number 2. Silent Hill witnessed a gruesome murder a few years back. A brother and sister were playing in the road when they were attacked and chopped into pieces with an axe. Torn flesh, smashed bones, splattered blood, and finally, bitter tears. What a terrible tragedy. What a gruesome end to such innocent lives. Now the question. What was the name of the murderer who committed this vile act? 1. Walter Sullivan.
Ding, ding, ding.
2. Scott Fairbanks. 3. Eric Gaines. Now for our third and final question. South of the lake is a deserted old neighborhood called South Vale. From there to Pale Vale, the central resort area northwest of the lake, there's only one road you can take. Just one road, no more. The third and final question is, what is the name of that road? 1. Bachman Road. 2. Rindell Street. 3. Nathan Avenue. Well, that's the last of our questions. Have you got it all figured out? When you know the answers, head to the storeroom on the 3rd floor to collect your prizes. But be careful if you're wrong. Well then, everybody, thanks for tuning in. See you again sometime. Bye-bye.
What was that?
Yeah. Very much so. And to be honest, the voiceover guy there kind of reminds me of Robert Picardo a little bit. Giving me EMH vibes. But yeah, to answer your question, Norpy, it is really interesting. And I would very much recommend checking out the book that Turpentine shouted out in the comments. Jonathan Lear's Freud. The really cool thing is that Lear is just a really great writer.
Yeah.
So
Maria, give me a hand here.
It's very
Come
accessible.
You're supposed to be the big man around here. How's a little girl like me supposed to help? What's this? Not very cute, is it? Here, James. You take it.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, so regarding the death drive, Freud sort of supposed, well, you know, if there's a kind of conservatism inherent to the instincts, then there's a kind of, like, what is the sort of thing that the instincts are aiming, that this conservatism, what does it seek to restore, ultimately, if we push the impulse to the end? And Freud thinks, well, what is the, if the point of an instinct is to, what an instinct seeks to do is to restore an earlier state of things, what is the earlier state of things relative to life itself? Well, it's death. Organic matter seeks to reproduce a state similar to inorganic matter. But this instinct conflicts with our self-preservation impulses, our life instinct. And so it results in a kind of compromise. For Freud, human aggression, our aggressive impulses, are sort of explicable as a compromise formation, as he calls it, between our death drive and our life drives. So rather than the strength of our egos won't allow us to direct our aggressive impulses towards ourselves, and, you know, because it's rebuffed by the life drive. So in order to satisfy our desire to reduce organic matter to inorganic matter, to return things to an earlier state, we direct it outwards, not at ourselves. So we satisfy the death drive by destroying other things rather than ourselves. There's a ridiculous amount of shotgun ammo in there. And so that's partly his explanation of human aggression and why he thinks that it's an irresolvable problem. You're not going to fix that by tweaking social arrangements. It's part of the reason that Freud is not a communist, for example. Because he doesn't think that you can eradicate this basic impulse. Is that why gamers don't shower? They want to return to monkey. Exactly. Or rather, in the case of gamers, you might say that they want to, and I'll just illustrate that, yeah, we can put both rings on this one at once. We can use both of our quest items at once. Gamers want to return to an earlier state of things in which their mothers showered them instead. They want to be looked after. That's not Freud, that's just me. I took the director's key, the one to the museum. I hid it behind the praying woman when I went out for the day trip. I picked it up, but I did not steal it. I'm not a criminal. Well, we'll see about that. Come on, Maria. I've got to be close to you. Come on. Come on. Please say you... I showed you my fishing rod. Please say that you love me. I really need to get the Maria ending. No, thank you. I've actually finished writing the essay now. So I'm playing this game. I'm replaying the game on stream because I was going to do it anyway. Just record myself playing the game so that I can like scrub through the video and get screenshots to use to illustrate some of the arguments that I'm making. Oh wait, I don't want to go down here. What the hell am I doing? Oh wait, no, I do want to go down here. That's it. We're going down the big hallway. But yeah, I just thought that I would invite people to come along for the ride and have fun and, you know, chat some psychoanalysis while we play through one of the best games ever made. So, oh, here we go. We're about to run into Pyramid Head again. Maria! Maria, don't you dare take any more damage. I need you to not be hit anymore, please. For fuck's sake. There we go. Maria always dies here in this cutscene.
Open up!
Unless... That's alright. As you know, it doesn't count if she dies in a cutscene. That's the main point. As an epic gamer, I didn't want to take any damage in the hallway, but she can get murked in the cutscene. It's all G as far as I'm concerned. I want my Chivos. Literally, Turpy. No, don't die. You're too sexy. I love this really spare piano piece. Here. Yeah. The music, Silent Hill 2, one of the best soundtracks in gaming. And I'm glad that from the trailer, they're just letting Akira Yamaoka just essentially do new versions of the old tracks, which is perfect. Now, I mentioned before that there's a spot where Silent Hill directly addresses James. Here it is. He who is not bold enough to be stared at from across the abyss is not bold enough to stare into it himself. This is a direct reference to Nietzsche, by the way. The truth can only be learned by marching forward. Follow the map, there's a letter and a wrench. Resident Evil 1. So we need to go to Gonzalez Mexican restaurant for the letter and the wrench. And we need to go to Rosewater Park. So there you go, there's the road out. It's Nathan Avenue, so that was the answer that we entered before. Yeah, I think they did, yeah. I've not played the medium, but I think you're right about that. So he's that text there, he's starting to unravel. Are you really waiting here for me, or is this your way of taking? And he doesn't finish the thought. But I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say that what he was going to say is this your way of taking revenge? And in a way, it is. It's Silent Hill's way of doing it on her behalf. Lots of health items and ammo to the right of the hospital there. I think actually if we stick to the left-hand side of this road, there are some more pickups here. Yeah, Silent Hill stands a dead wife. Well, this is sort of like related to Silent Hill's function as a kind of sort of like a malignant punitive force, in that in order to punish James, to force him to feel remorse for what he's done, he needs to be forced to acknowledge what he's done. And so, because he's existing under the weight of psychotic delusion, which effectively represses his memory of killing Mary from returning to conscious awareness, Silent Hill has to sort of function like a psychoanalyst in order to punish him. This is part of the argument I make in the essay. And so, in order to hurt James, it has to heal James in the sense of Silent Hill designs its own environment, changes things on the fly, in order to structure a series of encounters that forces James to come to terms slowly with what he's done. And in that respect, it's not like the town couldn't just. So you might think, why didn't the town just manifest a version of Maria saying, "You killed me," over and over again? Well, it reflects a kind of psychoanalytic insight that, as Freud comments on it, you can arrive at a direct interpretation of what's wrong with a patient straight away. But if you just tell them without doing the work that's required for them to see in themselves what you're about to say, they won't accept what you're going to say. They will just deny it. So part of the analytic cure is not just figuring out what's wrong with them, but figuring out how to talk about it in such a way that the patient themselves comes to understand what's wrong with them. And that's why the game is laid out in the way that it is. That's why Silent Hill designs the environment so that James walks from the Woodside Apartments to the hospital. He's gradually encountering situations and people like Laura. It's forcing him, like the sort of cognitive dissonance in which he lives, to stretch to its absolute breaking point. So the idea is that eventually he will come to accept the interpretation of his analyst, Silent Hill, as his own. And at that point, in a sense, he will be cured. And we sort of see that towards the end of the game, when James does realise what he's done. Yeah, so that's a very good question, Norpy. So James, right now, James is still sticking to his delusional belief that Mary died 3 years ago. However, we're going to see a message from Laura later in the game, which says that actually, it's more than likely that Mary was actually killed 8 days ago, not 3 years ago. And so, he killed her recently. The idea is that basically, and this is sort of what the creature designer's headcanon is, Masahiro Ito, is that he killed her, bundled her corpse into his car, and drove to Silent Hill basically straight away. Or waited a few days for the letter from Silent Hill to arrive in his mailbox, and then he left. Part of the reason why the developers have it as headcanon that Mary's in the back seat of the car is that an ending that you can get on a second playthrough, the rebirth ending, which requires James to collect a bunch of items around Silent Hill to use in a ritual to summon the old gods of Silent Hill in an effort to resurrect Mary, involves him having access to her body. James gets in a kayak and sort of rows her body to an island in the middle of the lake. Now, he can't have her body unless it's here already, unless he brought it with him to Silent Hill. And this would make a lot of sense, given the diagnosis of psychosis, right? If James is indeed psychotic, it makes sense that he is not aware of the fact that Mary is in the back seat. He's, in a sense, repressed his perception of her in the back seat, because that would destroy the protective delusion upon which his fragile state of mind depends. So yeah, more than likely, he killed her recently and then drove here. And to answer your question, Kiseki, no, I have not played Shattered Memories because I don't have a Wii. Or I don't have access to the PS2 version, so I'm aware that that psychological therapy is a more, like, less subtextual element and more directly textual, in that you have a conversation with an analyst that directly changes the outcome of the game. I've been meaning to play it, but yeah, I just don't have any means to right now. I'm not very good with emulation, so... This is another letter through which Silent Hill directly addresses James. Or perhaps you are a fool. The truth usually betrays people. A part of that abyss is in the old society. The key to the society is in the park, at the foot of the praying woman, inside of the ground, inside of a box. To open it, I need a wrench. My patient buried it there. I knew, but did nothing. It made me uneasy to have such a thing near. I wasn't looking for the truth. I was looking for tranquility. I also saw that thing. I fled, but the museum was sealed as well. Now, no one dares to approach that place. If you still do not wish to stop, James, speaking directly to him, I pray to the Lord to have mercy on your eternal soul. It's very telling that if you return to Bar Nearly at this point in the game, after leaving the hospital, which I'm not because I don't want the in-water ending, there's a second note on the bar, which says that if you want to be reunited with Mary so bad, James, then you should just kill yourself. But I have a feeling you're going to a different place than her. So seeing that note is one of the conditions for the in-water ending, in which James does commit suicide. And yeah, I hope I'll get a chance to play Shattered Memories too. Yeah, it's very interesting as, like, you know, one of the only remakes in the series, a new take on Silent Hill 1, which is a game that stands, I think, the most in the need of an accessible remake. Yeah, I'm keen to try it, so I hope to get it at some point. I hear the PS2 port is really compromised, so I'm hoping I can get my hands on, like, a cheap Wii eventually, and a version of the game that doesn't cost a mortgage. Because Silent Hill games are going for ridiculous prices on the second-hand market these days. PS2 version's alright. Well, good, because I have a PS2, so maybe I can find a PS2 version somewhere in the wild. Or at the very least, eventually I might pull my finger out and figure out how to emulate. Where am I going? Oh! I'm a fool. I'm not going back to where I need to. Oh no. Yeah. I actually am going the right way. I'm playing Silent Hill on PC. So I'm playing the PC port that has been enhanced by a modding project called Silent Hill 2 Enhanced Edition. A team of modders have been working on it for multiple years. And, yeah, they fixed the game in many respects. I've got it running at 4K native resolution, 120 FPS. Looks incredible. The door that wakes into darkness, opening into nightmares. So you're not getting all that full quality, because in order to make sure that the streaming would actually work for a lot of you guys, given Australian internet, I've got it downscaled to 1080p and 60 FPS, so it's not looking as good for you guys. But even so, you should be able to see that the texture quality is much improved relative to the PS2 version, and they've restored all the effects that the HD collection version stripped out of it. So the fog is as it was meant to be in the original PS2 version. Yeah! Geez, Silent Hill 1 for $250. So I don't have it physically. I play Silent Hill 1 via the old PS3 / PSP emulated version. on Sony. You know, I paid $15 for it back in the day. I'm still playing those versions. Yeah, I went the wrong way. I should have made a left. I got incredibly lucky when it comes to finding a physical copy of Silent Hill 2. I still cannot believe my luck. I was just looking through a cash converters, as you do sometimes. Sometimes you strike gold. You strike gold, and I found a copy of Silent Hill 2, the collector's edition, on PS2 for, no joke, $3. $3. Granted, it didn't have the making of DVD, but that's okay. So it just was missing the second disc, but that's all right. You still have the whole game on the other disc in the thing for $3 in the original packaging. It turns out that the person who cataloged the inventory when that game came in they wasn't a gamer, so they didn't know the value of what they had received, so they just classified it as a regular PS2 game and put it in the same brackets as all the other kind of shovelware. And so when I went up to pay for it, the person who was behind the counter knew the value of what it was, and like, oh my god, I didn't even know we had this. Like, if I knew we had this, I sure wouldn't have let you bought it. I would have snapped it up. So I just got insanely lucky. Alright, so we've come to the back of the statue. Now we need to follow the advice of the letter. And where is it? Wrench? No. Oh, I dig with my hands first and then the wrench. Alrighty. Ta-da! The old bronze key. Alright. So this is basically like the Silent Hill 4, as it's the one team silent title you're missing. Oh, if you have if you have a PC that's okay, I would really recommend getting the I don't know if you're aware of this, but Silent Hill 4 is on GOG, is on GOG on PC. And the version of Silent Hill 4 that they have on GOG is great. Oh, you have it on GOG. You just want a physical version as well. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so I've played it recently. I played it last year on GOG and loved it. In my mind, ranking the Team Silent games, it's Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 4, Silent Hill 3, and then Silent Hill 1. Yeah, I love this is like the closest that we get to kind of Otherworld Silent Hill in Silent Hill 2. It's just almost complete darkness. Yeah, I understand the feeling very much. I collect physical media myself, mostly films, but some games as well. Got way too many Blu-rays hanging around the old casa. Broke a shelf with them. Your ad. Wonder what this represents. Yeah, I can imagine. In America, they seem to have it very easy. There's not a lot of it's much harder to get retro game stuff in Australia, where I'm at. All right, the Silent Hill Historical Society with its goofy logo. Let's enter.
It's like Sovereign Hill.
I know. Alright, so I'm thinking at this point in the Historical Society, this might be a good time to call it for now. just it's getting a bit late over here, so time to go to bed. But and this is roughly, I think, a good place to have 2 even streams to polish off the game. So if everyone who's been watching, I'd like to thank everyone who's been watching so far. It's been great having you active in chat and chatting. I was sort of expecting that I'd be doing this by myself, so it's great to have people. Thank you, Kiseki. I'm really glad that you're enjoying what I have to say. And I'll be playing again tomorrow night to finish it off. So if everyone would like to join me tomorrow night, if you can, I'd love to see you there at the same time. So I'll be starting at 8 o'clock Melbourne time, Melbourne-Sydney time, 8 p.m. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you next time.